students, they study the procedures and the techniques. They're not as likely to sell by the, quote, seat of their pants. They will follow the procedures which are there. Number two, they're more detail-oriented and, incidentally, more people-oriented. They're far more inclined to ask questions to uncover the needs of the prospect and find out what the prospect needs instead of trying to roughshod run over them and dominate them with personality and tell them all about the wonderful merits of their merchandise without finding, first of all, if their needs will be met by what they're selling. Third thing about introverts is, realistically, folks, they're more introverts than they are extroverts. And so they have more people to relate to as far as the process of selling is concerned. So what can those who are extroverts do about it? The same thing that introverts can do. You can acquire the training, the characteristics, and the habits of the introvert, just as the introvert needs to acquire some of our characteristics. And yes, people can definitely do that. This is probably going to shock most of you when I tell you this, because all you've seen me here is in front of a group of folks, and I'm laughing, and I'm talking real loud, and I'm bouncing up and down, and I exude a lot of energy and a lot of confidence and a lot of enthusiasm. So when I tell you this, it's probably going to shock you. But I, too, am an introvert. Very much so. Now, you might think I'm the loudest introvert you've ever seen in your life, but emphatically, I am an introvert. I have simply acquired some of the characteristics of the extrovert. You see, you're not stuck with the way you are. One of the most exciting things I can tell you is that you can change. I can tell you that you're what you are and where you are because of what's gone into your mind. You can change what you are, and you can change where you are by changing what goes into your mind. And the beautiful thing about the profession of selling is you have an opportunity to be with and around the optimistic, the positive thinkers, the people who are encouraging and building you up and helping you to do more of the good things of life. When you start talking about the salesperson and the kind of individual involved in it, I think one of the most exciting reports I've ever read was put together by the Forum Corporation out of Boston, Massachusetts. They did a considerable study on 341 salespeople. 173 of these salespeople were the top-notch producers. I mean the super productive salespeople. 168 of them were average salespeople. Now, all of them had been selling at least 5 years, so we can eliminate the rookie factor. They came from 11 different companies, 5 different industries. They sold everything from petrochemical, banking, life insurance, real estate, and 1 or 2 other things. But in this analysis, they discovered that from a pure sales knowledge, sales skill point of view, that the 173 top salespeople and the 168 average salespeople all had almost exactly the same sales skills. Each group knew exactly how to get prospects. Each knew how to get appointments. Each knew how to demonstrate features and benefits. Each knew how to handle objections. Each knew how to close the sales. But there was a dramatic difference in the results because there was one factor that the super salespeople had, and that one factor that the other ones did not have in as large a quantity was this word called trust. Now, my selling friends, listen real good, as I often tell people, this is profound. What they found is this: people don't buy based on what you tell them. They do not buy based on what you show them. They do buy based on what you tell them and what you show them that they believe. Pure and simple, which they believe. Now the question is, who do they believe? It's an old-fashioned answer. They believe the good guys and the good gals. Those who are morally sound, who have honesty and character and integrity as the regular tools in their sales arsenal. You see, the most important part of the sales process is the salesperson. very important. Now, you see, that kind of shoots the myth that a lot of people have about the salesperson. The career salesperson understands a lot of things. For example, we learn some things about human nature that helps us deal with our wives or our husbands or our children or our neighbors or somebody like that. For example, as salespeople, on occasion, we do have folks who are a little rude to us. How many of you have ever had a prospect who was rude? Maybe even mean, a little ornery? Would you believe downright nasty? Well, you see, one of the things, not often, fortunately, but it does happen. One of the things we as salespeople learn and understand is this. When somebody is mean and ugly to us, we learn to understand it is not because they want to hurt us, but rather it is because they themselves are hurting. And you see, once we understand that, then we can deal not only with them more effectively, but also with our families and our friends and those whom we love. I believe beyond any reasonable doubt that in America, if every policeman, if every politician, if every school teacher, if every civil service worker, if every individual on any kind of payroll anywhere, if they had to go to a real gung-ho sales meeting every Monday morning before they started walking their beat or delivering the mail or doing whatever job they do, I believe we would have an infinitely better, happier, more excited, producing America. How many of you would agree with that observation? Absolutely. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, everything is selling and everybody is a salesperson. Whether you're a dentist, a doctor, a preacher, a teacher, a coach, a child, a music minister, doesn't make any difference what it is that you do. Everybody is a salesperson. Let me share a couple of examples with you of what I'm talking about. When I was between the 11th and 12th grades, during World War II, I went to junior college so I could pick up some extra classes so I could get in the Naval Air Corps. All right? Now, I had to pick up an extra course in history in order to graduate, and so I would be free then the following my senior year to take a lot of extra math and science. Well, I didn't want to take American history. What possible good is it going to do me, to learn something that happened 100 years ago or 200 years ago? But I had to learn it, so I was going to go in there, and I was at least going to pass, but don't think I'm going to try to remember it. I'll just transfer the knowledge from the teacher to my mind to the pad, and then I'll get out of there, and that'll end it. But the teacher threw me a curve. He was Coach Joby Harris at Hines Junior College in Jackson, Mississippi. And you're talking about a salesman, folks. He was a salesman. He spent that entire first period selling me on why I had to learn my history. He really put the story on me. He also sold me that as an individual, if I had any ability that permitted me to do more than support my family, that I had a moral obligation to my fellow human being and my community to donate some of my services for the betterment of mankind. I walked out of that classroom that day a history major. Only subject I made consistent A's in throughout the time I was in college. What I do today in all of the activities outside of my actual business was directly, emphatically influenced by that salesman, a school teacher, Coach Joby Harris. Everything is selling. I'll never forget when our second daughter was born. Our first child was 3 years old at the time. And I'd been out on the road not long after our baby came home from the hospital. I'd been out on the road and I got stuck. There was a snowstorm and I spent the night in a Greyhound bus, fortunately, on the side of the road. When I got in the next morning, I was exhausted. There was about 10 inches of snow on the ground. And I'd no sooner walked in and just had my top coat and my gloves and my hat off when the redhead said to me, "Well, honey, we got to go to the store. We need some things." So I reluctantly put all the gear back on. And my 3-year-old said, "Daddy, I want to go." And I said, "Oh, Susie," I said, "the weather's too bad. It's too cold and wet, and I won't be gone long." But she said, "Daddy, I'll be so lonely." I said, "Oh, Susie, you won't be lonely." I said, "Your mother's here, the maid's here, your baby sister is here." I said, "You won't be lonely." She looked right at me and she said, "But Daddy, I'll be lonely for you." I don't need to tell you, she went to the store with me. You see, The truth of the matter is everything is selling. The third example, at our church we recently got a new music minister. Now please understand that I've got the kind of voice that prompted Mitch Miller to write me a personal letter asking me not even to bother to sing along with. And I want you to understand it. My own children asked that I not sing in church. But last Sunday was our first Sunday, and this minister had the congregation so excited. He sold them so much on participating. Now he knows his music too, but he had us so gung-ho that for the first time in my life, I actually enthusiastically got involved in the singing process. Everything, ladies and gentlemen, is selling. I mean, everything is selling, and that's one of the reasons that I'm so excited about it. The question might come up, well, what role does selling play in the economy? Well, I can tell you this. Several years ago, the Secretary of Commerce of the United States said this. He said that what we need in America today is 1 million more sales people, professional sales people. Have you ever really stopped to figure what happens when you make a sale? Now, when you make a sale, let me ask you, how many of you write your order on an order form or an order blank? Can I see your hands, please? Okay. Now, when you make that sale, do you understand, do you realize fully that the order pad you wrote it on did not start out as an order pad? It started out as a tree. And you're the person who paid those people who went out in the woods and cut that tree down when you got out there and made the sale. And then a whole bunch of people hauled that to the paper mill, and you're the person who paid those people to haul that to the paper mill when you got out there and made the sale. Now, in the paper mill, you see, there are hundreds of people manufacturing that tree and a paper, and you're the person who paid those people to manufacture that tree and a paper when you got out there and made the sale. But it goes so much further than that. You see, when you made a sale, you made a profit on that sale. And if you're lucky, your manager made a profit, and if you're real lucky, your company made a profit. That's the way you stay in business, you know. And so you take part of your profit, you go down to the store and you buy a can of beans. And in essence, the grocerman says, if you're going to buy my beans, I got to get some more. He goes to the wholesaler and said, need more beans. Wholesaler said, if you're going to buy my beans, I got to get some more. He goes to the canner and said, need more beans. Canner said, if you're going to buy my beans, I got to get some more. He goes to the farmer and said, need more beans. Farmer said, if you're going to buy my beans, I got to get some more. And to do that, I got to raise them. To raise them, I got to have a new tractor because the one I got's worn out. He goes to the dealer and said, hey, I got to have a new tractor. The dealer said, if you're going to buy my tractor, I got to get another one because these are all we've got. He goes to the factory and said, hey, got to have new tractors. And the factory said, if you're going to buy our tractors, we got to manufacture some more. To do that, we got to bring in iron, copper, plastic, steel, aluminum, lead, zinc, spark plug. Well, we got to set up factories all over the world. And all of that happened because one day you got out there and made a sale. That's right. And that's what you ought to tell folks. Why am I excited about the profession of selling? I'm excited about the profession of selling, ladies and gentlemen, because, as I said earlier, I believe it is the most secure profession on the face of this earth. If my son were to come to me and say, Dad, I want to get into something that is absolutely secure, what would you suggest as being the most secure thing on in our country? Without hesitation, I would say, well, son, you ought to get in the world of selling. But suppose my son were to say to me, but wait a minute, Dad, don't most salespeople work on a commission? And I would say, yes, son, salespeople are just like everybody else. Everybody works on a commission. But, Dad, I thought your secretary, for example, had a salary. Oh, she does, son. She's on a salary. And as long as she's productive, she will continue to receive the salary. Now, when she's no longer productive, what's going to happen to the salary? That's right. It's going to go. See, I don't care whether you're president of the company or even the president of the United States. If you don't do like you're supposed to do, they'll get you. And you full well know what I'm talking about, don't you? Now, you see, the beautiful thing about the world of selling, I would say to my son, is it's one of the few professions that I know of that is absolutely not prejudiced. You see, that altar doesn't care whether you're white or black or brown. It doesn't care whether you're female or male. It doesn't care whether you're old or young. It doesn't care whether you're educated or uneducated. Doesn't care whether you're introvert or extrovert. When you come bringing the altars in, ladies and gentlemen, and they start writing those checks, it's based on your performance, not the color of your skin, not your sex, not your religious beliefs, not anything else. It is the most fair profession that I have ever seen in my life. I love to sell. Now we've got, oh, go ahead, I've still got time. Now there's an awful lot of selling we still need to do. For example, in our society today, did you realize that 42% of the time spent on jobs is wasted? That's right. I was talking to Dr. Tor Dahl, time management and productivity expert, internationally respected at the University of Minnesota. I said, Dr. Dahl, and when we were chatting, and it was a lengthy discussion, I said, I've read this figure, but I have difficulty believing that that much time is wasted. He said, well, Zig, when you count people coming in late and leaving early, extended coffee breaks, unusually long phone conversation, too many trips to the restroom, taking time off to smoke those cigarettes, the gossip that goes on around a lot of these places, too long at lunch, writing those personal letters and all. He says actually 42% is a conservative figure. What we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is sell everybody on doing their very best. When we sell that idea, I'll absolutely guarantee you the trade deficit will absolutely disappear. If the producers will produce the merchandise, I'll guarantee you us salespeople are absolutely going to get out there and sell. We really are. Now, you're talking about imported? Let me tell you something when you start analyzing the sales profession. Even as I make this presentation, around our country there are certain organizations which are on strike in various plants and mills and institutions and so forth. Well, let me tell you to think about this. If you ever have any doubts about your validity as a profession and what you do as a person, I want you to think about this. Did you realize that if everybody in America who sold anybody anything under any circumstances, whether it was a piece of pie, a loaf of bread, a can of beans, a gallon of gas, a life insurance policy, a home, some pills from the drugstore, a suit of clothes, some hair shampoo, a necklace around your neck, or a microphone around your neck, if everybody in America who sells anybody anything were to go on strike just for 24 hours, did you realize we'd be thrown in a recession, ladies and gentlemen, that it would take us months and months to recover from? The damage to our economy would be absolutely incredible. You see, what I'm saying is the profession of selling is such a marvelous, marvelous profession. I'm so proud to be a part of it. And I hope that the next time anybody says anything remotely derogatory about this profession of selling, if they get a little negative and say something about those salespeople, I hope you will smile, be very gentle, and be very loving, but look them right in the eye and say, let me tell you something, friend. You enjoy the incredibly high income that you do. Whether you're the postman or the postmaster, whether you are the teacher or the superintendent, whether you're the sailor in the Navy or the admiral in the Navy, whether you're a clerk in the congressman's office or the Congress, or the congressperson, regardless of what it is that you do, you enjoy the high standard of living that you do because salespeople like me are out there selling. Be proud you sell, ladies and gentlemen, by these ideas we've been talking about. You see, what I'm really talking about is an attitude toward the profession. So you acquire the skills, acquire the professionalism, learn the techniques and the procedures, and buy this idea that selling is a magnificent profession. Because if you do, I can close by saying, I'll see you. And yes, I really do mean you, my selling friends, at the top. Thank you.
Here are additional audio and video cassette programs that will give you further insights on how to become more successful in your own life. To complement this video program by Zig Ziglar, here is a 6-cassette audio package, See You at the Top. Zig is at the top himself, and he shares with you his message, Don't give in to life, dig in. Zig speaks to you as if you were a guest in his living room, and shares the secrets of getting everything you want in life. Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top, a must for your audio cassette library. Dennis Waitley reveals the systems and strategies for always finishing best in this 6-cassette audio program, The Double Win. Be a better parent, strike better business deals, and feel better about yourself in everything you do after listening to The Double Win with Dennis Waitley. In his 6-cassette audio program, Tough Times Never Last, But Tough People Do, Dr. Robert Schuller shares with you his experiences as he provides a blueprint to turn what seem like hopeless situations into stunning success stories. Tough Times Never Last, But Tough People Do, a must for your library. For the first time on video cassette, Leo Buscaglia opens his arms and his heart to you and your family in this wonderfully inspirational message entitled The Politics of Love. Join Leo as he faces an audience of more than 10,000 and embarks upon an hour full of love, laughter, tears, and hope. For more information on any of these albums and for a free catalog of all of the Nightingale Conant audio and video cassette programs, write Nightingale Conant Corporation, 7300 North Lehigh Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60648, or call 1-800-323-5552.